We're going to be spending some time living with this Mk7 Volkswagen Golf R. It's owned by my friend. I've been driving it the last couple of days, and it's reminding me how much I like this little German hatchback. We've got quite a long drive. We're currently in Southern California, so we're going to take this today instead of the Maserati MC20. We're actually doing a podcast with Salamandra and Parker from Vehicle Virgins. So we're going to spend some time with the Mk7 Golf R, which is, again, a generation old now, so it's a used car. But it'll be a nice reminder if you're shopping for a hot hatchback that brings some fun, a lot of practicality, what this option is like. Before we hop in, take one more look at this MC20. Man, this car is so gorgeous. But today is about the Golf R. Go ahead and hop in. Ooh, that blue accent lighting is nice. It matches the exterior. Familiar with Volkswagen interior, and this one's a manual. Clutch in. So the Mk7 Golf R is the previous generation. We're on the Mark 8 right now. I actually haven't driven the Mark 8, but I heard a lot of people didn't like what they did on the interior. Too many screens and touch buttons, which I think Volkswagen's actually backtracking because they knew it was not a good user experience. With this, you still have a lot of buttons. This was, I think, the sweet spot. The Mk7 and Mark 7.5, GTI, and Golf R were just a nice blend. The Golf R has the 2-liter turbocharged E888 inline 4, and this one it makes, I believe, 292 horsepower, if I recall correctly, and it's all-wheel drive, but it's not like a true all-wheel drive. It's a Haldex system, so it's front bias, and when it doesn't need the rear wheels, it'll uncouple it. I believe it sends up to max of 50% of the torque to the rear wheels. You get either a DSG or a manual, and this one is a 6-speed manual transmission. This one has just over 68,000 miles on it, and actually it's in pristine, fantastic condition. Heading off, we have a 120-mile drive, which in LA should take 2.5 hours. I'm hoping it doesn't take too long. Look at that view though. We're just currently heading down from where we're staying over in Ojai, California, across all of LA, so wish me luck. Older generation, so no Apple CarPlay, so I'm just running Bluetooth. The cup holder area is perfectly the size of my iPhone. Like, it almost looks like it was designed for that. It fits in there nicely. I'm just running Bluetooth for some music and navigation, making our way towards downtown Los Angeles. I hope there's not too terrible traffic. Look, there's a Mark 8 Golf R. It does look pretty good. Go ahead and set cruise control. Just press that and set. There we go. No adaptive cruise control. Don't use these two buttons. That's the volume up and down, not your following distance. Seems like we're taking the scenic route. Gorgeous views. I think we're around Malibu in the mountains. A little bit of traffic. There's a truck driving slowly in front of us, but enjoying this. 2 hours in the Golf R. Traffic actually wasn't that terrible. It's pretty comfortable, but I am in need of some caffeine, so Starbucks stop. Immediate first impressions are the typical hot hatch perks. It's a nice size, it's fun to drive, it's not too over the top, right? It doesn't attract a ton of attention. Comfortable, quick enough, easy to park, all good things. Coffee obtained, into the cup holder. Sorry phone, you've been kicked out. We finished filming 2 podcast episodes, went way longer than expected, and now I am driving all the way across LA again to go back to where I'm staying. Literally where Alejandro lives was closer to San Diego than Ojai, California. But because it's late, traffic is way better, so it should be just under 2 hours. Back in the Golf R, it's 8:37 p.m. and I still wanted to go to the gym tonight, but had a ton of fun. Back home, we did 250 miles in this car today, and I'm actually surprisingly not that tired. It's just nice and easy to drive. The shifter, the clutch, it's got a pretty long travel, but it's rather lightly weighted. This thing isn't super sporty. The more time I spend with it, some curvy roads, because there's just random amazing curvy roads everywhere you go in Southern California. But it's just a nice balance, right? Like an M2 is way more on the nimble, sporty handling side. Obviously, like a sports car, like a Corvette Stinger or something like that, is going to be much more sporty handling. That was kind of an obvious statement. This is well-rounded, practical, great daily driver. You can have some fun with it. Good power, even in like 5th and 6th gear. If I needed to pass somebody in a freeway, I actually didn't really have to downshift much. I can get from 65 to 75, 80 miles an hour very easily. It's 10 p.m. I'm quite tired, but just had a protein bar, and I'm gonna head off to the gym, trying to very much get into shape this year. So, back in the Golf R, and we are down to 55 miles empty, so I will fuel this up again. I've been putting premium in this. 91 is what you get here in California. Probably you want to run that. Usually any performance engine, I would do that. And this 2-liter E8 888 is shared with like the Audi S3, and they actually, Volkswagen Audi Group uses this engine in a lot of different platforms. But in a relatively lighter, smaller car like this compared to like a Q7 or something, obviously it's gonna be a little more potent and fun. Holy crap, I was completely wrong. I just plugged in my phone to charge via the USB cable and CarPlay popped up. Whoa. Cool. Okay. Yeah, we have wired CarPlay. Nice. Silly me. Scratch everything I said about not having CarPlay. Ignore all of that. Look at that. I was totally wrong. Okay. Late night workout done. Also, apologies to everybody who has a Mark 7 Golf R who was watching this video probably screaming that it has CarPlay. I was mistaken. It has wired CarPlay. That's my bad. Running out of fuel, 35 miles empty, so we're gonna go ahead and fuel up before heading back home. One reason I got a little bit mixed up on the CarPlay thing is during this era-ish, I don't know the exact model year of this specific car, I have to ask my friend, like CarPlay was kind of hit or miss with Volkswagen Audi Group, because like my 2016 RS7 did not come with CarPlay from the factory, and I believe those model years would overlap the Mark 7. It was sometime between those generations, like all the way up until even a 2017 R8 didn't have CarPlay as standard for some reason. Then in 2018 they added it, so it's just kind of weird at that point whether they had it or not. A lot of them seem to have the hardware where they could support it, so you could like retrofit it and like unlock it so you could have CarPlay. Anyways, this has CarPlay, which is a good thing because I like CarPlay. I just realized this thing is pretty dusty, needs a wash. One easy way to tell the Golf R from the GTI is the quad exhaust tip. That's like a styling cue for the Golf R. Obviously you have the R badge back here, but it's a pretty clean rear end. Just a Volkswagen logo. Doesn't say Golf on it, just has the R badge. I do like this blue. I am partial to a blue. The taillights are different between the Mark 7 and 7.5. I think the 7.5 is a little thinner, kind of more streamlined LED looking. Nice little 5-door hatchback. I think they make it as a 3-door, but I'm not sure if they brought that to America. Nice size wheels for the size of the car. Got the contrast black mirror caps there. That's the Mark 7 lighting, and again, just an R badge over here. 12.6 gallons. Not a massive gas tank, but 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo. Decently efficient. Let's see what the range is. A full tank. We are showing 385 miles to empty on, let's call it 13-ish gallons. That's pretty good. A lot of freeway driving today, obviously. Good morning. Cold start. Uh-oh. So the last time we tried to take the Golf R out, it clearly did not start. Theorized that the battery was dead, was hoping it wasn't the starter or the alternator because it had just been driven, so I was like, hopefully it's not the alternator. Anyways, we came back. Matt is back. Say hi, Matt. Welcome back from Spain. Hello, guys. The Golf R, we tested it with a little voltmeter thingy and it would start. You got it to start actually just by holding it for a little longer. Showed 14 volts, but as soon as you turned the car off, it just went yeah. And that means the battery was on its way out. It was a 2018, so it lasted 6 years. It was pretty good. Pulled the battery out, we just went and grabbed the new one. We're gonna swap it back in, and that's one of the parts of living with and owning a older vehicle. These are things you look at. Fortunately, fingers crossed, it's just the battery. It should be pretty easy, right? Right, mate. Done. Fixed? Perfect. Let's take a quick look at the interior of the Golf R. So on the seats, you see the R logo embroidered there. A lot of it's just familiar Mark 7 generation interior. We've got the infotainment screen here, the touch screen, which I was mistaken. This does have CarPlay, which honestly, that's all you need. I think the 7.5, the mid-cycle refresh for this gen, gave it a bigger screen, but this one touchscreen, CarPlay, it's pretty good. We have physical buttons too. For climate, heated seats, 2-zone climate control. We've got dials and everything down here, which is really nice. A little storage space underneath this here. I got a cable there. It says 4Motion for the all-wheel drive. Manual transmission. Push down, left, up, that's reverse. The backup camera pops out of the logo in the back. The Volkswagen badge actually swings out, you can hear it. And then it's a 6-speed, start, stop. We've got the drive modes, traction control. We have auto hold, parking brake there. And then steering wheel, again, familiar, this generation, little R badge, small screen. So it's very, very much the Volkswagen of this gen. All right, the weather has cleared up quite a bit. Today has been a beautiful day, so let's take the Golf R for a dynamic drive. Found a nice curvy road. Talk about what it's like to drive when you're having a bit more fun. And wrap up some final thoughts on what it's been like to live with a Mark 7 Golf R. So, as a Mark 7, this is a 2016 model year. It's covered just over 68,000 miles, which is actually pretty low for the age. The biggest takeaway with a car like the Golf R is just how well-rounded it is. It really is an ideal hot hatch where it can be hot at times. It's a hatchback, obviously. It's practical. It can be fun. It can be comfortable. It does a lot of things really, really well. This one here has the manual transmission. You can also get the DSG, the dual clutch, so whether auto or manual. As an enthusiast, I'll go with the manual, but the DSG is also a really good option. It's a quite good dual clutch on this platform. I've spent time with that before too. The GTI is actually also a really compelling option because, honestly, in most situations, GTI is going to feel pretty similar. They're both 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinders. The Golf R makes a bit more power. This is 292 horsepower and I believe 280 pound-feet of torque. And it is all-wheel drive, but it's like the Haldex all-wheel drive system. So it's still front bias and it can send up to, I believe, 50% of the torque to the rear wheels when needed. So it's not like a true all-wheel drive setup. So Golf R, the GTI, I'm sure some people would be wondering, is it worth spending the extra for the Golf R? Well, if you've got it, why not? I think inclement weather could be a factor if you live somewhere where it's snowy and you want to drive it all year round. A little bit of all-wheel drive traction can help. As always, tires matter more. A Golf GTI with proper winter tires will do way better than anything all-wheel drive with improper tires, because all-wheel drive with the wrong tires is just all-wheel spin. It doesn't help you stop or turn if you have the wrong tires. It doesn't matter how many wheels are driven. But again, we're in the Golf R, so let's focus more on the Golf R, the Mark 7 Golf R. I mentioned horsepower numbers. I believe you can get adaptive dampers in these actually too. So I'm gonna go into, let's try out race mode, driving mode. We've got comfort, normal, race, and individual. 6-speed manual, curvy road. Clutch feel is super easy. It's light, decent amount of travel. The shifter is good. Again, not as slick as like a Civic Type R or a Porsche or some of the other ones there, but it's fine. It's still fun to roll your own gears. But the perk is when you're stuck in traffic and stuff like that on the freeway, it's actually very comfortable, very easy to drive. This is a very approachable car. Like, I would probably find this car to be very easy to teach somebody how to drive manual on, just because it's friendly in that way. Visibility is fantastic. It's comfortable enough, even on bumpy roads, long drives. The seats are nice. They hold you in, bolstered well. This one doesn't have the sunroof, so just a full metal roof up there. This has auto hold too, so that's a nice feature, especially if you're on a hill. The manual transmission. It has got some creature comforts, heated seats, decent fender sound system, Apple CarPlay, as I discovered, which I'm just running with the USB cable now. But we're on a curvy road. What is it like? This is not an all-out car. In the realm of like this generation of hot hatchbacks, the two competitors that come to mind to me are actually the Civic Type R and the Focus RS. And I think both of those trend more towards the sporty side. Focus RS, all-wheel drive, little like rally hatchback, is actually fairly hardcore. The Focus RS does not ride particularly comfortably. It's quite firm. It is peppy. It is a lot of fun. Although I remember doing donuts in the snow in a Focus RS, and after like 3 donuts, it shut off the all-wheel drive system to me because it was like worried about things overheating. It was really sensitive in that way. I remember hearing that that's just like, it's like all model. They don't actually have a thermocouple sensor in there. It's just trying to like do component protection. So if you abuse the car too hard, it goes, nope, you're a front wheel drive, effectively a Focus ST now, haha. The Civic Type R is also a phenomenal choice. It looks more kind of Hot Boy race car, right? All the little wings and arrow pieces and triple exhaust tips, a little more immature, but is a phenomenal handling car. One of the best front-wheel drive cars that I've driven. Now, I've driven the new Civic Type R, just the previous generation, which would compete against this. The Golf R is like the one that sits in the middle. It's like the grown-up's choice, right? You could drive this to a business meeting or a nice dinner and not feel like you're being immature or something like that, but it can still do the fun hot hatchback stuff when you want it to. 2-liter turbo 4 makes solid power. I probably am doing this thing a slight disservice because I was just driving on this road earlier today in a Maserati MC20, which is totally different ballpark price point and power levels. Downshifts. There's third gear. So I think the clutch is actually starting to slip in this car. Oh yeah. Uh-oh. I did notice that yesterday. You can tell when you're, especially in a higher gear, and you put your foot into it, and the RPMs seem to be slight. Yeah. This thing is 68,000 miles. So it may be time for a new clutch on this car. Oh, that is bright. It is sunny. Woo, sun is setting. That is the thing with buying a used German enthusiast car. You gotta look for things like that, right? When's the last time major service was done? Brakes, clutch, so forth. The one thing though with a car like this is stuff should cost less. It is a Volkswagen, so it costs more than maybe an American car or maybe the Japanese competitors like the Civic Type R or maybe a Civic Si if you're buying a GTI or so forth. But it would also be cheaper than an Audi. It gets to the point of pricing. Man, let's think it's holding, a little bit of understeer there. Road holding grip is actually pretty good. This is actually on Michelin all-season tires, which I think were put on mainly for wear life, like the tread rating. They last longer, but these are actually pretty impressive going up this mountain road. Pricing value, right? What are Golf R's going for now? When brand new, I believe MSRP would be in the high 30s to just under $40,000, like I think 38 grand maybe, somewhere in that range for a Mark 7. These days now, obviously, a lot of them have a lot more miles on them. When I was just doing a quick look, for something between 80 to 120,000 miles, they're in the high teens. So $18,000 to $20,000, 19 grand will get you one with 110,000 miles on it. Now, if you start scaling up to lower miles, they get into the 20s, and then the mid-cycle refresh, so the Mark 7.5 Golf R. A lot of those were still trading in the mid to low 30s. So that's relatively close to MSRP, but those are newer, right? I think they ran that until 2019, at least I saw model years for Mark 7.5. It's a pretty new car. And I actually think this is a nice point in the Golf generations. The Mark 6 is older, right? Interior tech and things like that are definitely older. And the Mark 8 went a little too hardcore into the screens and everything like that, and those obviously cost more. This is fun up here. More of a momentum car, for sure. The thing that really, I actually was considering a Mark 7.5 Golf R as a daily. Some of you will know I bought something completely on the other end of the spectrum. I bought an A8, but I was thinking about, maybe a Golf R as an all-around fun little daily, all-weather, not too expensive, and so forth. Thank you. That Tesla just let me buy. It's very nice. And when I looked at prices, I was looking at Mark 7.5s. They were in the mid to upper 30s. And I was like, that's essentially MSRP for a used car. What the heck? This was during some of the peak crazy car prices, used car prices we had. And I was like, well, if I'm spending that much, I'll just buy my Audi S4 again. That was actually the guy I sold it to still had it and was thinking about selling my B8.5 S4. And I was like, well, I would rather go for a supercharged V6 Audi all-wheel drive than a Golf R for sure, right? Audi over Volkswagen. So that was one of the things. Like, you could get a B8 Gen S4 for this kind of money. You could also look at an Audi S3, which mechanically, platform-wise, is a sibling to the Golf R. They are 100% related. You just get the Audi-ified version, so a bit nicer interior and things like that. Regardless to say, there are a good amount of options in this segment when you're willing to spend this kind of money. So what would lead you to want to buy the Golf R? I've heard these are relatively solid between the GTI and these. Woohoo! That was a big bump. I swear this might have the dampers because that felt pretty firm, firmer than I'm used to going over some other equivalent size bumps earlier when I was in normal mode. You want something that is just really well-rounded, you want all-wheel drive, and you want something that's a bit more comfortable than the Focus RS. That's what would lead me to this. And then you just want to know if you want the Audi S3 or maybe a used Audi S4 or something like that. Now this over a GTI, it becomes harder to objectively justify. Really, the all-wheel drive thing is going to be a big determining factor. And styling, right? This looks a little bit more aggressive, has some nice little touches on it. They're both fairly mod friendly. I've seen a lot of people who do just a tune, maybe some bolt-ons, and that can be quite a lot of fun for not too crazy expensive. You get the practicality with the hatchback. I think it looks pretty cool. Yeah, the clutch is definitely slipping on this thing. We will take it easy on the way down. I think Matt was looking up earlier. There's some aftermarket options for clutches that aren't too terribly expensive. 4 hours of labor, so it's lower cost than I'm used to. Some of the cars, like I remember with my R8, my mom asked me if I would teach my brothers how to drive manual, and that was the manual car I had. I'm like, Mom, do you know how much the clutch would cost to replace on this? I am not teaching my brothers how to drive in a gated manual V10 R8. Like, no, we need to find like something cheap. I learned to drive manual on a Volkswagen Beetle that was like $2,000. A friend's dad had bought it to teach his daughters how to drive and was gracious enough to let me abuse his clutch and teach me how to drive manual. That thing had like a Christmas tree's worth of warning lights on the dash, but that is what I learned to drive manual on. Well, that's been a glimpse into what it's like to live with a Mark 7 Golf R. I really do think this is a fantastic sweet spot in the generation of Volkswagen Golfs, where you can get one for a decent price. I think I would spend low to mid 20s on this. Now prices have seemingly started to come down to something a little more normal, as just a great all-around daily that you can have fun with. Maybe some light mods. You know, you throw some nice all-seasons or snow tires on it and it'll handle any inclement weather, things like that, all year round. Be a great two-car solution. Have this and like a fun sports car or something like that. A lot of aftermarket options, a lot of enthusiasts out there with these, so there's a lot of solutions, DIY stuff. With that, we will conclude this video living with a Mark 7 Golf R for a week, seeing what it's like, a used option out there. Comment below, what would you buy if you had to spend this kind of money as a daily? Would you go Focus RS, Civic Si, Civic Type R? Would you rather just have the GTI and save the money for mods? Would you go up into an Audi or something like that? Or something completely different as a practical, all-wheel drive, fun little daily driver? There are definitely many options. Many options. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.